Just look at this seed. It weighs under a gram and looks pretty ordinary. But what it'll become is truly extraordinary. These are giant sequoias. Some of the trees are over 3,000 years old. And sequoias are the largest single life form on Earth. All from a tiny seed. Yet even that pales into insignificance compared to what the whole of the plant kingdom has done throughout the history of our planet. They harness light from the stars, bringing energy to our world. They created our life-giving atmosphere. They sculpted the very surface of the Earth. And they drove the evolution of all animals, including our own ancestors. It's a whole new story about our Earth. Told through remarkable images, captured for the very first time. This is the start of that story. How plants took a barren, alien rock, our planet, and transformed it into the home we know today. Here in central Vietnam is one of the largest caves in the world. At 7 kilometers long, this is known as Han Song Dong. It's a dark alien world. Down here, very little is alive. The caverns are full of spectacular rock formations. But further inside the cave is something far more extraordinary. 3 kilometers from the entrance, the roof of the cave has collapsed and a rainforest has invaded. An entire jungle teeming with life. This rainforest exists because of one thing above all. Something which has enabled plants to colonize almost everywhere on Earth. Light. Light which has travelled 150 million kilometres from the sun. Plants have this truly remarkable ability to harness energy from outer space to produce food. It's this ability to eat the sun, to manufacture life from light that has allowed plants to dominate our planet. It's called photosynthesis, and it's the most important natural process on Earth. It's how the plant kingdom has transformed a lifeless planet into a living world. But it wasn't always like this. And to see how it started, we need to go back 3 billion years. To begin with, our planet was like an alien world. There was very little oxygen. Instead, the atmosphere was a cocktail of toxic gases, spewed out by the many volcanoes. The land was lifeless. That's because the primitive atmosphere couldn't screen out the sun's powerful ultraviolet rays. Anything on land would have been burnt to a crisp. Yet all this was about to change. A momentous event that would create the planet's first life-supporting atmosphere. This event, between 3 and 2.5 billion years ago, was the single greatest turning point in the history of life on Earth. And it was all brought about by the earliest ancestors of plants. Here at the Sishen iron mine in South Africa, evidence of that epic event can still be unearthed today. But to get to it, you need a bit of help.
30 seconds. 10.
These explosions open a cross-section back in time to the distant origins of the plant kingdom. Vanessa Lickfold is a geologist at the mine. She knows that the colour of the iron ore can tell us a lot about the first free oxygen.
This is a lump of iron ore, and if I pour some water on it, you actually get to see the colours quite well. Now, iron in its normal pure form is quite grey and shiny, but you'll see here that a lot of the iron ore is red. For a large part, that is red because it's reacted with oxygen.
That oxygen was created by the ancestors of plants and has been trapped in the rock ever since. Now, this iron ore is going to be used for a unique experiment. The aim is to extract the oxygen from these ancient rocks. Some of this iron ore has been made into a solution.
You're going to pass a current via a car battery through this solution that's got the iron oxide in it.
This will result in a simple but astonishing reaction. Bubbles start to form. These bubbles are the gas oxygen. It's being released for the first time in over 2.5 billion years, when it was locked away in the rock. In just 1 hour, there's enough to fill the whole test tube. Vanessa's going to do something that she'll never forget.
We've finished the experiment now, and I have a test tube full of oxygen, and this oxygen is actually created from the iron ore. And I'm just about to breathe it in. Wow, for a geologist, breathing in oxygen from 2.5 billion years ago is just amazing.
The iron bands tell a remarkable story. They're evidence that for the first time, 2.5 billion years ago, oxygen flooded the Earth's atmosphere. It cleaned out the planet's toxic gases, leaving the sky a clear blue for the first time. Geologists call it the Great Oxidation Event, and it certainly was an event. This was an irreversible change between two very different worlds. A planet with virtually no free oxygen, and a planet full of oxygen. So how did this great event happen? The answer lies with the first burst of life, which emerged not on the hostile land, but underwater. Back then, water acted as a liquid sunscreen to the dangerous UV rays. Under the protection of water, the earliest organisms on Earth evolved in the form of tiny bacteria. But these bacteria had something surprising about them. They were purple. 3 billion years ago, much of the world's oceans were filled with these bacteria. Imagine that from outer space. A purple Earth. The purple bacteria lived by harnessing energy from the sun, but they only used part of the light. Some rays pass deeper into the water, and over time a different type of that has never been done before.
Hi.
Hello there.
I'm the guinea pig. Doctor, I presume.
Indeed, Dan Martin.
Hi, yeah.
Hi, Katrina.
Hi,
Nice to meet you.
This is fantastic.
Incredible, isn't it?
A brave volunteer has agreed to be locked inside this specially designed airtight chamber.
So first of all, this is going to monitor your heart rate and your oxygen levels.
Okay.
So if we pop that in, we can have a look here.
Professor Ian Stewart is interested in the atmosphere and the effect plants have on the air we breathe.
So at the top is your heart rate.
How's that? Is that really high?
I think you might be a little bit anxious about going in there.
I am a little bit.
I'm sure your resting heart rate's not normally 95.
No, I have been thinking a lot about it.
To see how essential oxygen is, Ian's vital signs are being monitored along with the oxygen levels in his blood. He's going to be sealed inside the chamber for the next 48 hours.
I'm as ready to deliver for you guys, so can we open this door? Wish me luck. Oh, it's small, isn't it?
Ian will be sharing his new home with 300 plants.
Okay, everyone, I'm going to start reducing the oxygen concentration in here now. Okay, the pump's running.
Oxygen in the chamber is reduced to a level much closer to that of the early Earth.
Okay, oxygen pump's going off now, everyone. Okay, Ian, so the oxygen concentration in the chamber now is about 12.5%, which is about as low as we're comfortable with. So that's just slightly over half the amount of oxygen that there normally is in the air that we breathe out here.
To gauge how the lack of oxygen is affecting Ian's body and mind, the doctors put him through a series of tests.
One, go.
Green, yellow,
Red, green, yeah,
it's kind of orange, purple, blue.
You'll find that thinking becomes a little bit slower.
Ian's hand-to-eye coordination is being impaired.
You can put them in any order you like. That's the way. Can you just tell us how exactly are you feeling?
Yeah, it's funny, I felt very slow. Yeah, that slowness is there, definitely.
The doctors calculate that at the rate Ian's using up oxygen, he'd be unconscious within 24 hours and eventually dead.
Your oxygen saturation, sort of 88%. If that was your level in hospital, we'd be pretty worried about you right now.
The next crucial step is to see if the 300 plants inside the chamber can produce enough oxygen to keep Ian alive. It's all to do with that wondrous ability they inherited from those green bacteria. Photosynthesis.
I think we can have the lights on, please.
To kick-start it, you need light.
Wow! Suddenly the lights hit. Thanks, Jack.
Ian, so good to see you. Well done.
Congratulations.
We've got something for you.
Celebrate with me.
Thanks for that, Jack.
The experiment can be seen as a metaphor for the entire planet and for our relationship with plants. They keep life going. The early Earth was like the chamber. It was transformed from a world with very little oxygen to a world rich in oxygen. And all that oxygen began to do something else. High in the upper atmosphere, it created ozone. This was a protective blanket which enveloped the Earth and blocked most of the sun's dangerous UV rays. It meant that for the first time in the planet's history, plants could move on to the land. But it was no small step. The thing is, if you'd been protected by water for billions of years, then the move to the land was going to be a rude shock. Yet over 400 million years ago, plants finally made that leap. Evidence for these pioneers comes from a small village in northeast Scotland. Here in Rhynie, there's a very special stone wall, the most important stone wall in the history of science. Back 410 million years ago, Scotland was located well south of the equator and looked like another world. Hot springs and geysers boiled out across a rocky and barren landscape. But something else was happening. As a local doctor discovered in 1913, when he came across some curious markings in this wall.
Well, it was first discovered by Dr. Mackey, and he was actually doing a geological map of the igneous rocks in this area and had no interest in fossils at all. But when he took a piece home, he discovered that the dark spots and splodges he could see in it were actually stems of plants. And the plants were preserved in fantastic detail. The dark vertical lines that you can see on here are plants that are still in the position of growth, which is one of the most unusual things. There are very few deposits anywhere in the world where plants are preserved in the position in which they grew.
And when they were alive, they would have looked like this. Just a few centimetres tall, they're called aglophyton. Bulbous shapes on the end of naked stems. A time before leaves or roots, yet somehow these bizarre life forms survived along the water's edge. What had been found here in Scotland were some of the earliest pioneering plants to make that giant leap, to colonise the land. And around this time, all along the margins of lakes and rivers, primitive plants were coming ashore. For the first time, when viewed from space, the land began to look alive. The beginning of a transformation from hostile world to fertile earth was about to change. Plants evolved an inspired solution to the problem. A brilliant new device for collecting water and nutrients. Roots. Cambodia. The 12th century temple here at Ta Prohm is a wonder of civilization. But it's also a wonder of the natural world. Although they're very different from the first roots to evolve, it's a superb place to reveal how roots allow plants to invade inland.
What we can see behind us at the moment is one of the best examples, I think, of Strangler fig actually growing on top of one of the temples at Angkor Wat, where you can actually see in between the rock systems it's penetrating all the way through down to the ground here.
basically they're penetrating through some of the rock here and actually going in between some of the crevices here in a struggle basically to find water.
Roots first evolved about 410 million years ago. They gave plants the ability to smash up a rocky planet. By breaking up the rock, roots are creating a material which benefits the plant.
The rooting systems are forming soil by penetrating through rock, breaking it into smaller pieces. That's degrading through a process of erosion, weathering, down into smaller particles, actually forming the soil itself.
Soil is perfect for storing water and was crucial to the plant's invasion of the land. Today, soil covers 40% of the planet's land. It takes a long time to form, 1,000 years to make just 2 centimetres. But it's essential for plant life, just as it was back then. 400 million years ago, the primitive leafless plant could now break free from the water's edge. Roots and the soil they created made plants unstoppable, allowing them to colonize inland for the first time. An invasion that would have a dramatic influence on all life on Earth. For millions of years, animals had been confined to the rivers and oceans. Now they could finally emerge from the water. You get an idea of those first tentative steps by travelling back in time with a creature that's barely changed in 500 million years. On the east coast of America, these ancient creatures, horseshoe crabs, still come ashore at dusk.
Horseshoe crabs are considered living fossils. That's the term that's being used. Well, the reason these organisms are so intriguing is that they're true ancient mariners and have been on the Earth longer than many other species.
One of the reasons for their success, something which enables them to stay out of the water for days, is their lung-like gills.
These are the book gills, and they basically are important for the animal to come out of the water, and its survival is based upon their being moist, and it gives them the opportunity to move on to the land, to lay their eggs. These are certainly some of the earliest organisms that moved out of the marine environment up onto the land.
Fossils show that horseshoe crabs appeared on land at least 400 million years ago. They're some of the first animals ever to come ashore. Amphibians and insects soon followed. Oxygen allowed them to move onto land, but something else was also enticing them. The main reason that plants photosynthesize is to create sugars. Sugars that are vital for plants to live and to grow, and also provide a source of food for all animals. Plants make this sugar from water, carbon dioxide from the air, and energy from the sun. And again, it all happens in those tiny chloroplasts. We've seen how light splits water into oxygen and hydrogen. Well, the plant takes that hydrogen and combines it with carbon dioxide to make sugar. By exposing a plant to carbon dioxide tagged with a radioactive marker, you can see the sugar being created. For the first time, scientists have imaged this transformation and movement through the plant. As soon as carbon dioxide is sucked into the plant cells, it begins to glow. This is the actual moment that photosynthesis turns the carbon dioxide into sugar. In just 15 minutes, the newly formed sugar is sent to the roots for storage. The plant can then use this sugar to grow and thrive. "400 million years ago, leafless plants were flourishing like never before. But a dramatic transformation of the atmosphere was about to throw plants into a global crisis. Not only would it change their shape, it would change all life on our planet. This is Lake Tarawera in New Zealand. This ancient landscape is home to a plant that 360 million years ago confronted that crisis and came up with an inspired solution.
The first plants that actually came out onto the land probably encountered an atmosphere that was very, very different to the one we see today. Carbon dioxide levels were originally much higher, and then they actually plummeted. They went down very, very low.
Without enough of this vital gas, plants began struggling. If they couldn't find a way to breathe in more carbon dioxide, they'd suffocate.
And it was that low carbon dioxide that then triggered off the plants to develop structures which maximized carbon dioxide uptake. We call those leaves.
Leaves were the answer to all plants' breathing problems. They massively increased their surface area by over 100-fold, allowing them to absorb far more carbon dioxide. Now, for the first time, shade was cast by a beautiful and delicate canopy, like these Dicksonia ferns.
The ferns that we see around us actually represent those really old lineages of the first plants that actually developed leaves.
The key to this advanced breathing apparatus is on the underside of each fern leaf. They're microscopic holes called stomata. Filmed in action with an electron microscope, this is them opening and closing, speeded up 140 times. There are thousands of stomata on every leaf on Earth. They allow a single fern to breathe in 5 litres of carbon dioxide a day. The evolution of leaves, rich in stomata, saved plants from suffocation. But leaves also allowed plants to capture more light. This in turn fueled fierce competition, each plant desperate for the sun's rays. This family squabble would lead to a new type of plant, one that would have surprising repercussions for the planet. How do we know? Well, it's all thanks to some rare evidence here in Nova Scotia in Canada. The rocks in this rugged coastline are over 300 million years old. And locked inside them, scientists discovered evidence of a lost world.
Behind me, in these cliffs, are exposed the world's best examples of fossil forests of the coal age. The reason that they're exposed is because of the relentless action of the world's highest tides here in the Bay of Fundy. They continually hew the cliffs and replenish the fossil record. The trees come and go about every 5 years, so every time that you walk these shores along this rugged beach, there's a chance of discovering some new pressing from the pages of time. This fossil is actually a small fossil tree. The name is lepidodendron. It's one of my favorites. The first fossil I found here when I was 14 actually is a lepidodendron. You can see the diamond-shaped pattern of the bark, which was the result. Each little diamond had a spot where a long needle-like leaf grew and was shed as the tree grew.
These trees are now extinct. But over 300 million years ago, they made up the planet's first tropical forests. Found in swamps throughout the Earth's tropics, these first forests were so extensive you'd have seen a band of dark green from space. And all those new leaves were pumping out oxygen. So much that levels of oxygen increased to not far off double what they are today. It was having a very odd effect on animals. In particular, insects and their cousins. Instead of lungs, invertebrates have simple breathing tubes that rely on diffusion for oxygen to reach their internal organs. The size of these animals is therefore limited by the concentration of oxygen in the air. Increase the oxygen, just as the first forest did, and things get interesting.
The lush tropical forests of this time period across the equator pumped huge amounts of oxygen into the atmosphere. That oxygen-rich atmosphere is probably responsible for the very large size of some of the creatures that came during this time.
Here is one of the biggest millipede species alive today. These are fossil footprints which date back from the time of the early forests. They reveal that the ancestors of this little fellow were massive. Called Arthropluridae, it was over 2 meters long. The forests would have been terrifying, with giant scorpions, giant spiders, and not just on the land. Most modern dragonflies have a wingspan of about 10 centimeters, but back then they were way larger. Some were up to a meter across. The largest insect ever to take to the skies. But in this oversized world, pumped with oxygen, the plant kingdom still reigns supreme. Then, 230 million years ago, a new group of animals emerged from the shadows of the swampy forests, the dinosaurs. It's the meat eaters that get all the press. But recent research has revealed that out of the 700 species discovered, over 2/3 were herbivores. Vegetarians ruled, led by the biggest herbivores in history, the sauropods. To investigate the impact of these huge dinosaurs on the plant kingdom, we can look at the largest herbivore alive today, the African elephant. This is Butch. He weighs 4 tons and is about as big as African bull elephants get.
Compared to African elephants, sauropods would have been much bigger, like 10 times as much, and they would have dwarfed these elephants. They would have appeared even bigger just because of their extremely long necks and long tail.
And to go with their huge size, sauropods had enormous appetites.
If we compare how much Butch would have eaten with a very large sauropod, we look at Butch, he eats 2 bales of hay a day, and a very large sauropod would have eaten the whole pile that we see here. That's 30 bales of hay, that's 15 times as much, and it would have weighed in at about 90 tons.
And sauropods didn't travel alone. They roamed the land in herds of 30 or more.
If sauropod herd came through, that would have been an enormous predation pressure on the plants, and they would have needed quite some time to recover.
150 million years ago, dinosaurs were stripping the land of vast swathes of foliage. For the first time, the plant kingdom was under serious attack from another dynasty. To fight back, plants began to evolve a whole arsenal of defences to protect their precious leaves. The most obvious being physical weapons, like needles and spikes. And some plants also spice things up with chemical weapons. Inside the leaves of this Traps Valley cycad is a nerve agent that when ingested causes vomiting and diarrhea, paralysis of the limbs, and then eventually death. And the arms race didn't stop there. Plants evolved a new tactic. Not so much a line of defense, as a line of communication. We know that when some plants are attacked, they activate a quick-acting toxin that deters herbivores. Now we're discovering that this defense goes even further. Because plants can actually warn other plants that a herbivore is eating them. And at last, scientists here at Exeter University are beginning to listen in to this hidden conversation. They found that when plants are attacked, they also release an unseen gas from their leaves. What it does is extraordinary. And this will be the first time it's been captured on film, using specialist imagery. These two Arabidopsis plants have been put inside a chamber. A third plant is then cut to mimic an attack. It's added to the undamaged plants. The chamber is sealed. The plant's leaves are now releasing a gas. As they do so, their biological activity can be seen changing. Something remarkable happens. The gas triggers biological activity in the two neighbouring Arabidopsis plants. They have detected the message warning them to protect themselves.
They're not touching each other, and we've been able to see a response in the neighbouring plants. So that implies some kind of signal has come out of the wounded plant and affected the neighbouring plant.
Scientists don't know all the details of this plant language, but increasingly they believe that there's constant chatter between plants all around us.
The more we study plants, the more we realise how complex they are, how finely tuned they are to their environments. They can't move, so they need to stay and defend themselves, unlike animals who can run away.
For 200 million years, the dinosaurs and the plants were locked in a titanic evolutionary battle, each trying to gain the upper hand. But it was now that some plants played their trump card. They used wood to grow taller and taller. Here, in California's Sierra Nevada, biologist Jim Spickler studies the most massive trees in the world. This is the grandest example of them all, the giant sequoia.
What you see is just impossible for your mind to process. The scale is so large. Wow, here we are 85 meters up in a very impressive tree. This giant sequoia has been here for over 1,500 years. Giant sequoia trees are incredibly large, and they also can get very tall. The reason they can do that is because they're just really old trees. They live thousands of years. The younger trees we see down here, the nice pointy top trees, they're just starting their lives. They may still be 80 to 100 years old, but in another 100 years, they're really going to start to get this very unique shape. It's a beautiful forest to be in.
70 million years ago, the ancestors of this type of tree, the conifers, got ever taller. This was the ultimate in plant construction. Conifers like these raised their precious leaves out of reach. The dinosaurs were no longer the biggest organisms on Earth. That title had been well and truly won back by these giants of the plant kingdom.
Giant sequoia have the capacity to put on an incredible amount of wood. Some of the largest trees that we know of can put up to a cubic meter of wood a year, and that's over the entire surface of the tree. These trees are growing incredibly fast.
Using wood to grow this tall meant that trees could eclipse all the other plants and have the first pick of the sun's strongest light. And for plants, light means success. If you had a satellite image of the dinosaur era 70 million years ago, you'd see the Earth like it had never been before, and never would be again. The climate was so warm, the poles had no ice. Instead, they were covered with conifers, a vast polar forest. And the mighty sequoia trees were not just found in small areas of the Sierra Nevada as they are today. They were global, stretching along the Pacific coast and as far south as Australia.
Ah, what a great tree.
It's staggering to think that using just a gas, carbon dioxide, and a liquid, water, together with light energy from beyond our world, you can construct a cathedral of wood 90 meters tall. Since they first appeared, plants and their ancestors have revolutionized our planet. They created oxygen for the atmosphere, which had allowed them to conquer the land and transform rock into soil, in turn fueling the explosion of all life. From a barren alien planet, plants had made a living Earth. And left on its own, the world would have continued like this, dominated by large dinosaurs and endless forests. But 65 million years ago, a chance event would change all that. An asteroid would kill off the dinosaurs and lead to the triumph of a whole new group of plants. Flowers. Flowering plants transformed the bond between animal and plant, even sculpting the very planet itself. Ultimately, plants would drive our human story and trigger the birth of civilization.